And so I did that, and I amassed unquestionably the largest portfolio of rental property, the largest portfolio of rental property in urban Denver. It was something like almost 200 properties because no one was doing it.
Yeah.
If you owned a loft downtown back then, you would just go on Craigslist and I don't know, maybe you have good photos, or maybe you just write a good description.
Yeah.
So
you created a platform then
to treat it like a sales listing.
Right.
Yeah.
This is From the Ground Up, where we talk to entrepreneurs in all different industries and give you the down and dirty about what makes them successful. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button and check back every Monday as we drop new episodes.
All right. What's up, everybody? We are here with Matt Conway. This description is not going to do too well for him. It just barely touches the surface. But with over 17 years of experience, our guest in real estate has a Colorado native and has become the expert in urban and luxury residential sales and leasing. You represent one of the biggest, largest owned portfolios for luxury rental properties. There's way more that you do. We're going to get into what you do in Mexico, how you started, all the things. But cheers.
We're going to crack these.
Matt suggested we have a drink.
Yeah, he wanted a Coors Light. We got our basic white bitch White Claws.
It's still summer.
Yeah, 1 p.m. on a Thursday. Why not?
Cheers.
So, Matt, you have to tell us. I mean, everybody kind of knows who you are. You've made a staple for yourself here in Denver. When we first got started, I think you were one of the first agents that we targeted. I mean, you still haven't sent us a deal, but totally cool, man. Totally cool.
No, but you were like one of the first that we went to lunch with.
I remember.
Where did we go? Somewhere
downtown.
It was somewhere downtown.
Like
Didn't we have pizza or something?
Yeah, and then you took us to the Four Seasons afterwards.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Which we'll get into too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, no! But we're so happy you are on today. I mean, this podcast is from the ground up, right?
Yeah.
So I just kind of want to hear, like, you've been in it for 17, maybe almost 18 years. Like, how did you even get started in real estate?
It's so wild. I think some people make a very conscious decision to get into real estate, whether they're right out of college. Maybe they don't go to college at all, and they come from a real estate family, and they just see this as their career that they want to jump into right after high school or whatever. But, I was born and raised in Boulder. I went to CSU.
Why not see you?
Because I was born in Boulder.
I know.
I always had this fear that I'd be at the Med on a date and my mother would walk in. And
so we're Go Rams?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I love CU football. I love CSU football. I love them both. But I think, I love going to CU football games. Fort Collins is a little farther away.
Yeah.
But yeah, Colorado native, went to CSU. In my sophomore, junior year, I was in the restaurant resort management program. I did semester at sea. I sailed around the world 115 days.
I wish I would have done that.
It was cool.
Why didn't we do that when
We
we were younger?
didn't have the money.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have necessarily the money. I mean, I had financial aid for semester at sea. I had a job on the ship. There's some like rich kids on there. There's a lot more normal kids on there.
Yeah. What cruise ship was it?
I think they're all called the SS Universe Explorer or something, but it was a different world back then.
Yeah.
Now there's a lot more rules and regulations. It was a little lawless. I would say we were like one of the last voyages that was a little lawless. Rules changed.
You changed the rules after your ship? Damn, dog.
It wasn't us. They actually, when we were about a week from our final port in Seattle, they announced that they had just acquired a brand new ship, and this was the first ship that the University of Sea, whatever, exploration or whatever they call the semester at sea program. At that time, it was through the University of Pittsburgh, but they had acquired the fastest ship in the world of its class, and they owned it. Before, they were always leasing ships, and so now that they owned the ship, just liability and all of that, the amount of drinking and stuff like that dramatically changed.
Nobody fell off board.
Yeah, and that was also, that was also a period of time. This is really going to age me, but when we were on that ship, there weren't cell phones, and so
pagers though.
No, we had cell phones. You just couldn't get them to connect in every country.
Like your old school Nokia.
Yeah, I had my Nokia brick phone, but it didn't work anywhere we went.
It was the best phones, honestly.
But I came back from that trip, and that was such an incredible experience to travel to, I think we stopped at about 13 countries, and to compare and contrast so many countries and cultures in a short period of time, while also being educated throughout the whole semester about those countries and cultures and languages and economies. It just really reshaped my perception of the world.
Yeah.
And I immediately,
Which you have to.
Yeah,
Like you can't
totally.
just live in the US and just pretend that everything's like, you know, obviously what was your favorite country you visited?
Oh, people ask me that all the time, and that is so hard to do. They were all so different. I mean, I loved Africa. That was incredible. Brazil was incredible. Cuba was pretty cool.
Nice.
I met Fidel Castro.
What?
Yeah, he gave he gave like a 5-hour speech in Spanish to all of us in one of their government buildings that held like 1,000 people, and we all had these like earpieces hearing these translators.
Oh, I was gonna say, do you speak Spanish now?
I speak enough Spanish, but I would not call myself fluent. I know enough to get myself in and out of trouble and through business.
Okay.
That's
And
crazy.
yeah, and like it was so long and it made no sense. I remember one of the translators just started eating her lunch in the middle, and we could hear her like chewing. It was gross. But no, it was an incredible experience, and I came back and I realized I'm in the restaurant resort management program at CSU, which I'm sure is great, but I felt like it was with a bunch of kids that just wanted to go and like manage a restaurant.
Right. Which
and,
is
yeah,
awful.
yeah. Which
To
really,
each their own.
Yeah.
To each their own.
Yeah.
And so I very quickly changed majors. I very quickly got very focused into school. I mean, I was a good student, but I was like, okay, this is the real deal now. I need
Switch
to
your
take
major
advantage
to-
of it. And I think
to
it's
what?
easy, to business to international business management at CSU.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So I switched programs and quickly got into the business school, and that's just truly where I thrived. I think it's easy, to kind of get lost in school, and some people don't really get found until after.
Oh, that was us
So,
for
yeah.
sure. We didn't know what the
I'm
hell
still
we were
lost,
doing.
right?
Yeah. No.
And so, but I knew I wanted to get into the luxury hospitality business.
Okay.
And I was actually recruited by Hyatt Hotels from the business school. I did a program called the Corporate Management Training Program with Hyatt. It was one of the top 5 business administrative training programs out of college at the time. And for whatever reason, I think normally they have like 100 of these. They call them CMTs a year. And for whatever reason, that year they only had like 15. So I was like one of 15 that got selected.
Dang.
And I went to work at the brand new Hyatt Regency Convention Center downtown, which at that time was the newest Hyatt in the world. They had an absolute dream team of management in that
It's
hotel.
the one with the blue bear looking in.
That's the convention center, but the
Okay.
hotel is
Right across the street. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
And that hotel was a really big deal for Denver.
Oh,
That
hell yeah.
hotel is also how Denver was approved for the Democratic National Convention.
Right.
Because we had enough hotel rooms. And
We remember that.
Yeah.
We worked at the Ocean Air Seafood Room at the time on the corner.
oh
It
yes,
was,
I remember that.
we made some good tips that week.
Yeah.
Thanks to you guys.
Yeah, no, that was an incredible event to have in Denver. Granted, I started working for Hyatt about 2 years before that event came to Denver, but it had already been announced. I graduated from that CMT program. I had always thought I would be moving out of Denver. I was looking, and I remember going to my boss, David, and I was like, all right, David, here's a list of all the Hyatts around the world I want to work for. And he looked at me like I was crazy.
Like you're not going
And
anywhere.
I was like, he's like, I don't think you understand. There's Hyatt that operates within the U.S., and then there's an international division, and you don't get to go abroad unless you're completely fluent.
Oh, don't tell you no. Don't tell you no, right?
I was devastated. And then a job had opened up in Miami. I'm like, well, that's the closest thing to a foreign country in America.
Right. Going back down to
And-
Cuba.
Yeah, right. 90 miles off the coast. And that job didn't end up working out. And I actually took a position here at the Hyatt in the Denver Tech Center. So I went from the newest Hyatt in the world to like a 40-year-old hotel that was
It's
going
old.
through a rehab. And
Remember that's the hotel that they used to throw those Halloween parties
no,
at?
that was the Marriott.
Oh, man, I was like, that was,
Yes, that
okay.
was
I
the
didn't-
Marriott because the
excited.
Marriott has the
the-
whatever in the middle.
Yeah.
Tram or whatever.
Yeah.
And
We were there in rollerblades.
Yeah.
So,
So you went
So I went from like the nicest, newest Hyatt in the country where they brought all the best managers from all the Hyatts in America to open that hotel. It was a huge deal. To a much older hotel and a totally different culture. And it was just a time bomb. I ended up getting a new boss I didn't like, but I've always had this incredible entrepreneurial spirit inside of me, and I'm like, okay, so I know that 2 years before the Democratic National Convention comes to Denver, that there will not be a single hotel room available in the city of Denver. We would sit down in these meetings and go over all the room blocks in all the hotels, and I'm like, there's an opportunity here. And so I remember I bought a website. I think it was like dnc08rentals.com.
Okay.
And I went and snuck
by yourself. So you had this idea, and you're like, okay, there's an opportunity.
I had two friends that liked the idea, but I didn't want my job anymore. They had kind of their own things going, and I needed an exit strategy. And so I was like, I used Vistaprint to print free business cards. And I snuck into like what surrounds the Pepsi Center and the Convention Center besides hotels? Condos.
Yeah, I was just going to say
privately owned condos, all the way up and down 15th Street.
100%.
I snuck into all those buildings, and I slid my business card under people's front doors, and my cell phone, I had a real one now, I'm just joking, but was ringing off the hook. And I was
saying that you're gonna.
I had people I was slipping my business card, like it was like that
you're gonna get people to rent their condo during the DNC.
Yeah, I was essentially soliciting homeowners.
Gotcha.
And I was taking lunch breaks and just juggling phone call. I get home, phone call.
Crazy.
And
fast
forward, I got in a huge fight with my boss, and I left Hyatt at January of 06. Yeah, 07. And it was game on. And so now I had no job. And not that they were paying me much anyway. I did have a really fun side hustle at the time. I'll get off track for a moment. I had a family friend that had known me since I was a little kid who traveled a lot internationally with my father. That was the whiskey professor for the Western United States. There's two of them in the country representing Knob Creek and the small batch bourbons. So we all know bourbon's on a huge demand, and this is a long time ago. And Knob Creek was like quadrupling its inventory, and that bourbon at the time was barreled for 9 to 10 years. So they had like all this inventory coming up, and they were building demand. So I had this really insane job where I was a whiskey apprentice working for the whiskey professor.
Just slinging whiskey.
David Days.
Whiskey, won't you go?
And they gave me this absolutely insane budget to go and spend at all the most expensive bars and nightclubs. And it was like
to do what? To try to get them to buy Knob Creek?
It was just my job. I had the full West Coast budget at the beginning. It was something like $10,000 a month, and my job was literally to go out and buy people drinks. Yeah.
I need that job.
Yeah.
I would be so fucking good at that job. Oh my gosh. Knob Creek, what's up?
I was so broke.
What's up?
I was so broke. I was like driving my second 1992 Honda Accord. That job, the salary was $100 more than my rent. And so I knew that I could pay my rent every month. I knew I could go out and have fun, but anything besides that, I had to figure it out on my own.
Right. But I bet you met a shit ton of people when you're out just
for sure. For sure.
Yeah. But I think people thought I was like rich or something, but no, I literally was like trying to spend $10,000 a month in like nightclubs.
Drinks on me? Oh, that would be great.
I would walk the first night I started that job. I remember I called David. And I was like, David, so like, what do I do? He's like, Matt, use the card I gave you. Go to the bar. Find the manager. Tell him you're going to spend $2,000 and tip him $1,000. And I'm like, okay. And I was outside of some nightclub downtown. It was Jet. It was Jet.
Jet, dude.
It was Jet. And I went in with 6 of my buddies. How long do you think it took us to spend $2,000?
Probably
an hour.
10 minutes.
About 40 minutes.
Yeah.
But I had 10,000, so we just kept spending and spending. But so anyway, I was doing that on the side to have a little bit of money and a little bit of fun while I was doing all this. But fast forward to
hustling rental properties.
My first sort of entry into real estate was soliciting all these owners. Left my job. I partnered with a vacation rental, like a third party vacation company in Vail that essentially had the platform. They had a back end system to load, to like put properties on a website.
And this was way before like VRBO, right?
So what's wild
Okay.
is Airbnb, one of the big bumps for Airbnb, it's been a long time since I've actually looked into the inception point of Airbnb, but it was right around the DNC.
Okay.
And
Really?
yeah, but I unfortunately did not create a platform to do what I was doing.
Damn, Matt.
Or
you
we would
missed
not be
out.
sitting here right
You
now. We'd be
missed
sitting on a
out.
But yeah, and then I partnered with a company based out of Vail that had the platform that I needed, and that gave me a huge jump forward. That's what I didn't have. Was like, where's the foundation for this business?
That's always the hardest part, when you like have this great idea but you don't know how to get it to fruition.
Yeah.
So you just partnered with them, you took what they were doing in their platform,
Which is exactly what I was doing. Yeah.
so you use their platform.
Yeah.
And okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, within a couple of weeks, we had a very clear idea of exactly how we were going to use
Yeah.
their platform, but in Denver, specific to an event.
Hell yeah.
And I put 250 lofts, condos, penthouses, townhomes, and a few single-family homes under an exclusive contract.
Okay.
And I think at this point, this also goes into some of the fundamental ways I operate in business. This event was obviously getting a ton of PR and a lot of media attention. And I was just honest with people. I was like, listen, no one knows what's going to happen.
Right.
Here's an exclusive contract. We are positioned better than anyone else to absorb this demand when it comes. We don't know exactly when it's going to come, but it's going to come because
Right.
it's supply and demand.
Yep.
There is no supply
100%.
and the demand will be there. And if you're not in a contract with one of these hotels,
Right.
you will not have a place to stay. I mean, there was even hotels that were 45 minutes outside
Yeah.
of Denver that were part of this big, massive block of rooms for the DNC. And so I had 250 owners sign an exclusive contract. There were one or two other, maybe they were licensed agents, maybe they weren't, clearly promising people the world. But there was no, I mean, and it was very sketchy.
Yeah.
And I just was being honest. I was like, listen, this is exactly what we're going to do. And this is exactly how much money we're going to list your property at. We had a one week minimum. And I mean, we were, anyway.
Then what would you do? Just take like 10% or
No,
take a
it
portion
was
of
more of like a standard management fee that you would see in the mountains.
yeah.
I think we were at like, it depended on the property, but I think our minimum was 25%. Some of them were 40%.
And what would you take outside of what you were paying this company in Vail?
I just had a split, essentially, like you would see in a traditional real estate company.
Okay,
You know,
yeah.
if $1 million comes in,
Yeah.
you know, X amount went to them, X amount went to me.
Right.
Okay,
right,
makes
right.
sense. Makes
Yeah.
sense. But you were the one who found these 250 properties.
Correct.
Okay, so you put in all the legwork to do that. All these people called you. You picked your top 250, and then you partnered with this Vail company to kind of manage.
We took everyone that would sign an exclusive
Right.
agreement.
Okay.
And then, of course, there's always a few people that were like, well, just call me if you have someone. So, long story short, about 3 months before the DNC comes, the calls started coming in. And I think the least expensive unit that we had was $2,000 a night with a 1 week
Crazy.
minimum. So,
Bro.
14,000. And then we had some townhomes on 15th and Little Raven.
Oh,
That
that's
like
that was like the cool
overlooked
little
kind of the
area.
Pepsi Center. I had
yeah.
some penthouses that overlooked the Pepsi Center. Those were going for like 15 to 20,000 a night.
That's insane.
Wait, what?
Yeah, no, like this is, yeah.
Did you have some of like the I mean, not the actual candidates, but like some of like the political parties like book your rooms?
I'm sure because the FBI came to my office and they warned me that they were
Just like,
coming, and they're like, we
just
need
drive
all
the
the
Honda
keys
Accord.
Yeah.
and follow us to the properties. They had a locksmith with them. I took all the keys, they changed all the locks, and they made me sign an NDA.
Yeah.
And that was that. I don't know who was there.
Right.
Yeah. And then what was really interesting, the waterside lofts in Denver, which I think the top floor is 12. That had a direct line of sight into the secured back entrance of then Pepsi Center, now Ball Arena. And that was a major security risk because
Yeah.
a lot of those units were narrow and
Right.
long. And again, the FBI called me.
So what, did they rent that out and say nobody can actually stay
No,
there?
they couldn't do that,
Oh,
but
funny.
they required all of the owner's information
Mm-hmm.
and with the units that we were renting, and they had to have full background criminal checks run by the
Damn.
FBI
Wild.
because
I
from
bet
a
you didn't
security.
expect that. That you were just like kind of
No.
rolling with the punches because
Yeah.
you never did this before.
What I also didn't expect was going to check in one of those properties when they set up the security barrier, which was included a block of residential properties, and I had my like hunting shotgun in my trunk, and that they also didn't like that. I got turned away.
You made a ton of money for all these owners.
Yeah,
And
we
you
ended up-
made a ton of money for yourself, and you made a ton of money for the company up in Vail, right? Like it.
Yeah.
Do you remember that time though? Because we were at a high-end restaurant and we were packed every single night, and the amount of
Every
money that we
single
took home in those, was it like a week or 2 weeks? I want to say
It's like a week or two.
It was about a
days.
two.
Yeah.
It was about a week before,
Yeah.
a week of it, and then like a couple days afterwards.
Yeah,
I got it off. But
yeah.
we ended up leasing 165 homes.
Okay.
Out of the 250.
Yeah, only one single family home, but it wasn't a very good listing,
Okay.
and it was almost all right there
Right.
in the mix. Pretty much everything was right downtown.
Can we ask how much you made off of this?
Gosh, it was upwards of
Because that's going to take him into what he does next.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we did $1 million in revenue,
Okay.
and there were some significant expenses
yeah.
and there was also a year and a half I didn't make any money.
Right.
Right.
So that was one of the nice things about the guys up in Vail is we did work out a very minimal salary.
Yeah.
And that adds up over a period of time.
How'd you connect with them, or like,
wait.
did you just start? Sorry, did you
Yeah.
just start Googling like?
No.
Wait,
Oh my God, it's such a random story.
we don't have to get into
Wait,
it. But
Yeah.
before squirrel, hold on. I got to get to the financials. My God. Hold on. So you made $1 million in sales.
We generated over $1 million
Okay.
in gross rental revenue for our owners.
Gross rental
We were on anywhere from a 20 to a 40% split on that revenue.
Okay.
And so let's make it even. Let's say we made we grossed $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
We took home, we can use a bigger number, 400,000 of that.
Okay.
And then of that, it was broken down.
Right.
Okay.
So it definitely didn't feel like I didn't go out and buy a BMW.
Yeah.
But you definitely bought better than a Honda Accord.
No.
Okay. Okay.
I feel like it really just kind of like brought me current with a little bit of
Yeah.
cash in the bank.
Yeah.
But and this was my entry level into real estate. The first 4 years in real estate were very slim pickings for me, and so I just kind of felt like I kind of got back to square one. So
Interesting.
yeah,
But you had a little bit more money to like kind of get you in, or you knew some
kind
of
of.
these.
But also my business
people-
ended.
Right. Because
So-
after the DNC is over, right?
DNC's over.
Okay.
I created this entire business model that was specific to one event. So
Okay.
what did I do? I took my 30 best properties and I rolled that into a corporate housing and vacation rental business model in Denver. So I took my 30 best lofts, condos, penthouses that were fully furnished, and we were leasing them on a nightly, weekly, or sometimes
Oh,
monthly
so
basis.
some of these people stayed with you.
I took, a lot of the best ones.
Okay.
Not, I mean, there were certainly obviously really nice properties that only wanted to do it for that.
Right.
Or it was, Joe and Sally that just left for, a month.
Right.
And made it available, but then started living there.
But some of
again.
these people are like,
Yeah.
dude, you just helped us make all this money. Like, we want to stick with you. What
Oh
can
my
you do for
God.
us?
Were people like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, you actually got someone to pay $10,000 a night for my home? And I'm like, yeah, we have the money.
Yeah.
And they're like, of course we didn't pay people until everything was done.
Right,
But,
right.
So you kind of did like the Airbnb model before it was even really
absolutely.
a big thing.
And there was no platform like
Yeah.
Airbnb to do it on. So
Wild.
So I rolled that into another business model, and this is where things got interesting. So back then, when all of the HOA rules and regulations were written for these buildings, the world of renting, you couldn't rent your property really out for a night. Now that worked in the mountains. There's property management companies that have that whole platform, but that didn't exist in Denver,
Yeah.
and the HOAs aren't really written for that. Anyway, so that was a very successful business model. It was a ton of work,
Oh, I'm sure.
and it absolutely ground me down hard. So, but then the HOAs started to change, and there were even units that for the DNC, regardless of how long they were there, they still had to sign a 1-month lease. To meet the rules and regulations of the HOA. But the HOAs were changing,
HOAs too.
and everyone's looking at me like I'm the Airbnb, or like they're all looking at me, and it's a name. It's not Airbnb. It's not a company. I'm like, and I take ethics and my reputation incredibly seriously. And I met with, by their request, to meet with one HOA board about what happened, and we were within all of the rules and regulations of that HOA, but it was a little gray, like they rented it for a month, but they were only there for 7 or 10 days or whatever it was, and they left whenever they want. So it was just a bit of a gray area, which is not where I wanted to be. Right. So I took a look back at what I was doing and where the market was going, which was straight down into the Great Recession. And
07, 08.
And I just saw all these different opportunities that I had all these great relationships. I had made all these people crazy amounts of money. I had lots of loyal clients, and what do I do with it, right? So
especially when housing is shit.
And now the housing market's total shit. I didn't want to go and get a regular job or anything like that. I'm like, well, and so, but there was people that still wanted to rent their properties out. I said, okay, well, let's stop doing this nightly rental thing. I called all my clients in like November and December, and I was like, hey, this is the last check you're getting. I'm taking like 2 months off of work. When I come back, I've been working on a business platform to offer professional leasing services. Any lease of 30 days or over requires a real estate license. I got my real estate license, and I launched a very comprehensive business platform offering professional leasing services.
God,
I see your little stars.
So I know, like, what? That's freaking smart.
It's smart.
That is so smart.
And when everyone was like freaking out, the world was coming to an end in real estate, and real estate agents were bartenders. There was a bunch of real estate agents that moved to Puerto Vallarta.
I mean,
and I love the story because
not a bad idea.
Living was cheap down there. They were just waiting for the market to kick back in. And so I did that, and I amassed unquestionably the largest portfolio of rental property, the largest portfolio of rental property in urban Denver. It was something like almost 200 properties because no one was doing it. If you owned a loft downtown back then, you would just go on Craigslist and make I don't know, maybe you have good photos, or maybe you just write a good description. So you
created a platform then
to treat it like a sales listing.
Right.
Yeah. And that was incredibly successful.
Did you ever have like major compliance or like even the government like question you? Like, no. Now there's all these regulations around Airbnbs and what you can and can't do, and the government and the city and everything. But I think you were kind of a first starter in that.
Yeah, there were 2 other brokers doing it, but not to the scale I was. It was just like something they did. This was all I did. I never did a residential real estate sale for my first 5 years.
So it was all. What now? Was it luxury at the time, or did it kind of turn into more luxury?
It definitely had a very strong luxury presence.
Yeah, because you're doing all the nice. I mean, if you're going to go after the DNC folks and get penthouses and shit, then that's kind of the foothold that you even just found yourself in.
But I also had pretty much every single person that either constantly rented their property, maybe thought about rent. I mean, I had the ultimate list, and I'd had phone conversations with them. I mean, I had thousands of conversations. So I did that business model. And to your point in terms of regulation, the minute that you do a lease of 30 days or over, you are in real estate that requires a license. 30 days or less is the hotel world, and that's totally different. That's where lodging tax, which is a huge, part of Airbnb, and that's why the city of Denver and Airbnb have so much friction, is because the city wants their lodging tax.
Got it.
The hotel lobby, which is very well funded, doesn't want there to be 2,000, 3,000 doors, beds that are competing with their hotels, because their job is to fill the hotels.
That makes sense.
So I got out of that world.
Yeah.
That's where all the problems were with less than 30 days.
Okay.
The opportunity was in the world of residential real estate. So I did that, and then as the economy shifted, I ended up taking my portfolio and working with Christina Frere, who owned a company that's now called Colorado & Company that was very rental focused, with the ability to do sales, and did that. And then as things got better, I started selling, and that's when.
So you had was it the clients that you were working with, like now, like
yeah,
hey, now I'm a real estate agent. Yeah,
I mean, most people only hold a real estate asset for 5, 6, 7 years, and now we're looking on a lot of these people if they hadn't sold already, and I was losing homeowners left and right because they thought I was only a rental agent, and they didn't know that you actually had to have a real estate license to do rentals. Anyway, so. I had some really impressive listings, and that caught the attention of Kentwood. And after a long negotiation, I was brought on to Kentwood as the first agent within Kentwood, not their rental division, which is called Denver Rental, but the first agent within Kentwood that also did rentals.
Okay, so you just kind of fucking made your own rules.
If I'd gone to Denver Rental, I would have just been looked at as another. I mean, everyone that does it is a licensed agent, but I would have just been another agent doing rentals.
Right.
That's not what I did, or that's not what all I wanted to do.
Right.
Exactly.
And
so now you're shifting into residential sales, but you're still trickling with this.
Yeah, I mean, there's the. Rentals are really interesting. The people I meet are incredible. If you think that the person that owns a $10,000 a month rental or loft or a unit at the Four Seasons or whatever is wealthy, you should meet the people that are renting them.
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
Oh, yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah,
You're not
it's
wrong.
really impressive.
So you make connections that way, and now you bring it into real estate.
Yeah, because leasing is a privilege, not a right. A lot of people think, oh, I'm paying this guy's mortgage. No, you get the ability, as long as you qualify, to move into a home and move out of it at the end of that lease. That's all you have to worry about. You don't have to worry about market fluctuations. If the dishwasher, the fridge breaks, or if there's a leak or anything like that. It's a luxury, not a right. And so...
How many times have you said that?
This is why a lot.
Yeah.
And that's also, with the rental side of my business, I'm an advocate for my owners. I am not there for the renter. My role is to make sure that they understand that the expectations of renting, sometimes a multi-million-dollar asset, and that it's expected that when you're done, you don't trash it and stuff like that.
There's so many laws nowadays that I think it's changed or evolved that are more on the renter side, not the owner side. Like the owners are kind of, I hear like a lot of owners are starting to sell their investment properties because the laws aren't on their side.
It's tough. Like renters have a lot of rights.
Oh yeah,
a lot of rights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that would be a long conversation to go into, but you're absolutely correct. And it's when it comes to leasing, the best asset that a homeowner has is their lease agreement, and I unquestionably have the most comprehensive lease agreement in all of Denver to protect my owners.
See that because we put together our own. Like we didn't just do we just didn't print it off, and we got a lot from different people like Stacy Savvy or Stacy Samba has a freaking killer one, and we merged all these together. So we think we're set, but I would love to see yours.
I mean, mine's a product of 17 years in this business, and every time that something goes awry, it's modified and goes through legal approval, and but that still won't. With all these new laws that they're pushing through in the state of Colorado, it is definitely making owners nervous. However, I would tell any owner, you just need to talk to the right person.
Right, which is you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you, in real estate, do you just do luxury, or if somebody comes to you and is like, hey, Matt, I want a $350,000 cheap condo in Evans, would you do that? What's your niche now?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the person.
Okay.
If someone came to me with a $350,000 budget that says, I just want a condo in Denver, I'm moving here and I don't know where I want to live and, or what neighborhood and all of that, that's a little bit more challenging.
Yeah.
But yes, to answer your question, I do operate at all price levels, but just the way the cards have fallen in my business, it tends to be on the higher price points. I love, I was just helping an intern for Kroenke Sports, because I do a lot of business with Kroenke Sports, the NBA, NHL, and Major League Baseball, and he had a $250,000 budget for a condo. He was moving from Kansas, and his parents really wanted him to buy something and not waste money on rent. And I was like, Neil, I really want to go and explore this world, because I've never really looked at it. And we went and looked at very entry level condos in Thornton, Westminster, Broomfield, everything. The stuff downtown was really rough. Really rough.
It's not even.
Yeah. And so, but yeah, for like 2 or 3 months, we went and looked at everything. So he ended up just not being, he really needed to spend like $30,000 to $40,000 more to get something that didn't need a lot of work.
Right.
So he ended up getting a very inexpensive apartment, so on and so forth.
Denver's a tough
But yeah, to answer your question, no, of course. I love exploring different markets, and I do find real estate really fascinating, and you have to love the business, and I love making people happy. It's why I wanted to get into hospitality, and yes, I do operate at all price points. But a lot of people think I only do luxury. Last week I just helped actually a friend of mine close on a $500,000 one-bedroom penthouse downtown.
Boom.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So I want to go back. When you say you have this entrepreneurial piece of you, where does that come from? Is it did your parents help instill that in you, or did it just?
Oh, definitely my parents.
Just a bug.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying
it started
to
with my honey stand when I was a little kid.
Did your parents were they beekeepers?
I was born and raised in Boulder. I was kind of raised by hippies.
Yeah.
And my mom thought it would be a really good idea to let our friend Jean put a bunch of beehives in the back of our house, and I got stung all the time. And then she would
Bees were nice. Honeybees are nice.
They are, but they still sting you if you've got 20,000 of them living in your backyard. And I had a little honey stand on our street that no one drove by. And then
remember those little honey sticks you used to get at the stores with
you bite them off and you're like,
they still have them at every truck stop in America.
I know, but I just haven't had one in so long.
I know, they're so good.
So your parents help instill this kind of mentality in you that's taken you this far in life.
Yeah, I had a really interesting upbringing. My father's a professional wildlife photographer and safari guide, mostly in Africa and Alaska.
He's the cutest human being, and he loves him
He's
some
so
ice
cool.
He loves him some ice cream, because he posts them at the Rockies game all the time, and he's just loving life, licking his ice cream. I'm that's a cute human.
God, I need to stalk you a little bit more and see your cute ass dad.
Yeah, my dad loves baseball. I don't particularly like it, but I do enjoy it with him because he's totally into it, and he can eat an ice cream cone at the Rockies stadium, the Rockies Coors Field faster than any other person there. So I always post when he's eating them, because they're gone.
So funny. It's so cute. He's a wildlife photographer.
Yeah, my dad is a biologist, naturalist, and really got into photography, and took that to be a guide in all over the world, but mostly here in Colorado, of course, and then he's going back to Africa for his last safari here, in a week or two.
Dad?
Yeah.
That's so great.
So he's officially retiring from that, but all of the trips he does are photography oriented. Concentration in Africa, Iceland, Alaska, parts of South America like the Galapagos and stuff like that.
Has he ever been in the National Geographic magazine?
I've asked my dad. I think he might have had an image or two way back in the day.
Yeah.
I know he had a cover on Ranger Rick, which was Nat Geo for kids.
Ranger Rick.
And then, but that was only 20% of his life in Colorado. It's gotten harder to tell the story as I've gotten older, but if you were born and raised in Colorado and you went to an elementary school along the Front Range, or I would say kind of within an hour of Boulder, and you ever had some guy show up at your school with alligators and snakes and eagles and hawks.
Was that him?
That was my dad.
Oh my God.
I'm guaranteeing I've probably seen him then before. That's so funny.
Your family they're out there, they're different. They like to travel.
Yeah, and I lived in a zoo. Yeah. We had all these animals all over the house. It's so weird.
So this has to just because for the sake of time, because I gotta get to some of the coolest things, but obviously your family likes to travel. He's been international. You were doing all the things when you were in college. what are you doing in Baja right now? Like, and how did we even get there? Like,
I know.
And you barely speak Spanish, or you speak enough to get by?
Oh, I barely speak Spanish. I mean, I grew up, taking Spanish classes.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Sí, bien.
You too. I mean, see, good. Again.
But family, I traveled with my family a lot to like Mexico and Costa Rica a lot. That was our family vacation spot for many years.
Dad's taking pictures.
Birdman. I was just always looking for birds. But yeah, I started at the first time I went to Cabo. I was like 19 to do what we all do down there, party and drink and all of that. But I would say like 7 or 8 years ago, I started going down there for longer periods of time. I was obviously in real estate, and everywhere I go, that's where my mind thinks. Like, I see ocean and raw land. I'm like, whoa, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And I mean, I could sit in here and talk to you guys for hours about Baja, but it is absolutely on fire. I mean, the returns that you see on the investments down there are incredible, and a big part of my business is working with investors here, bringing them opportunities, and the returns that you can get down there are incredible.
But can you finance down there? Is it all
there
cash?
is. Global Mortgage does it.
Okay.
It's a good way to think about it. It's usually double the interest rate that you'll find here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's certain types of real estate that they will and will not finance. If you're going to buy something in a gated community, that's pretty simple. You can't finance raw land,
because they're so scarce. Those gated communities, like if you have a raw land that comes up, like it goes hot, like it goes quick.
Yeah, I mean,
but you pay for that. In
that's
all
where the
cash.
margins are, though.
Yeah.
If you take the initiative to buy raw land outside of a gated community in a fastly developing area, like you buy a lot for $500,000, you build you put $1 million. Or your construction budget's $1 million, so you're into it for 1.5. It's pretty safe to say that you've got a 2.5 to a 3.5 million dollar asset pretty quickly.
Is it like that if you buy like a condo that they're building, like, or do you get more of the returns on stuff that you build and
Sometimes, there's some developments out there like St. Regis, Four Seasons, Chileno Bay.
Chileno Bay,
we went there
wild.
we went there over New Year's.
Yeah,
The
owners of our company, Patty and Rick Arviello, just bought raw land in Chileno Bay, and they're building
the last of it.
It was freaking. It looks over, like it's on a cliff and it looks over the ocean, and that cost a pretty penny.
I mean, there was 1.5 to 2.5 million dollar raw land lots at Chileno Bay and the Ridge Estates, which are in the back. That if let's say you bought a $2 million lot and you went through the design center at Chileno, and when that structure was about 80% done, there was a list of buyers. People just didn't. They just want to put a key in a door. And that's where 70 to 80% of the buyers want. They don't want to go through the process of buying the land, waiting 1 or 2 years for construction, and then having their home.
Right.
If they've got the money, they want it, and they want it now.
Yep. And so how did you, so you're down there and again you see the opportunity.
Yeah, and
then you're like, I'm going to bring this back to my investors.
And I would post stuff on Instagram, and it was really interesting how many people reached out to me, and they were like, oh my God, you need to meet this person, and you need to meet that person. And that's where it all really started to get momentum. And then I would start going down there alone, and I would meet with agents all along the Southern Peninsula, from like Todos Santos to Pescadero, Cerritos, Cabo San Lucas, which I do some in, but not so much. That's much more of like a very touristy area, the areas that I really enjoy going to, and spend most of my personal time is not in Cabo San Lucas. It would be definitely Todos Santos. I love Cerritos, Pescadero, which is right in between them. That's going to be the Malibu of Baja. And then along the tourist corridor, there's some interesting developments, and then San Jose. But what's really interesting is the East Cape, because that's a lot of really raw land. The way that the land is entitled there is a major step back from on the west side of the peninsula.
But the east side is the windier.
It can be.
Side.
There's definitely a windy season over there.
Yeah.
But you have the Four Seasons. You have in Costa Palmas. You have the brand new Four Seasons. You have an Oman, which is going to be incredible, and some other really fascinating developments over there. And that's up north on the East Cape. So where I see the most opportunity for raw land, which is the most, there's definitely more, it's more risky, and it's more brain damage going through buying dirt, finding a builder, getting design plans, all of that. And time,
Right.
So yeah, it's really fascinating, and depending on what that person wants to accomplish, there's 10 different conversations to be had. So what I really try to do here in Denver is, instead of going down there and spending a week trying to, exploring all these areas and meeting with all these agents, if you're in Colorado, you can come meet me. My office is in Lohi. We can grab a beer at recess or wherever you want. We can grab a bite, whatever. And when you go down there, you're not wasting your time. Yeah. You're meeting with the agents that are going to help you accomplish what you want.
You're giving them the blueprint of what you're going to expect when you go down there. Because I think a lot of Americans get they don't know how to begin, at all with the conversations. Like, we don't speak Spanish. We don't know the laws down there. We don't know the people.
The contracts in English and Spanish.
Yeah.
So you kind of the intermediary, and you hook them up with an agent down there?
Yeah, I really just act as a consultant and help people,
How many deals have you done down there?
I've helped people buy homes down there for sure.
Okay.
Really what I'm working on down there, though, would be much bigger projects, like finding raw land opportunities and development. And unfortunately, the last one that I've been working on for like the last 2 years got shut down. So they have the equivalent of the EPA called Seminot down there, and just the land that we were on was coastal, and they were very concerned about the construction along the coastline and its impact on the aquifer. Yeah. I'm all about it.
The impact on what?
The aquifer, which feeds all of it's all the fresh water.
Okay.
And the dunes along the western coast, there's all the science backing it now, are really acting as a filter and a barrier from salt water getting into the freshwater aquifer.
Oh,
and
there's so much to it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And there's a lot.
And then you've got to have fresh water down there, because, you've got the water coming down from the Sierra Madres, and then you have the aquifer, and I totally understand where they're coming from. Unfortunately, it had a massive negative impact on me.
Oh.
So I'll find another one, but these things take years to put together.
Yeah.
So
I think what I've gathered from you over this last hour, I don't know what time we have, is the amount of people that you talk to, the amount of people that you know, the contacts that you have. That's what's really driven your success, is your connections. Am I accurate in saying that?
Yeah.
I would love to know how many contacts you have in your phone.
I know my email list is over 10,000 people. I try to be honest, ethical, and I'm not high volume. I'm low volume, tend to be high price point, and very customized customer service driven. And that has proven to be very successful. I don't want or need to be an agent that does $50 million in production a year.
Right.
I have a great live-work balance. And although a lot of people think I live in Mexico, I don't. I live here. I spend maybe cumulatively a month or two down there right now. Under COVID, I was there a lot. And that's where this whole where a lot of my involvement in real estate in Baja Mexico really bloomed was under COVID. And so, anyone who's interested in that world, I'm a wealth of knowledge. I've been to all these places, most of the places in Southern Baja that people want to go to. And if you're going to be spending $5 million on a home, you need to know what's outside of that, those gates.
Right. Yes.
And if you want to go off-road racing, if you want to go hiking, up in the mountains and see all these cool little things, there's a whole world, a whole community outside of these resorts. And I think that's what it's really fun to show people. One great story was I had a client who was looking at real estate down there with his family, and we would go and look at 2 or 3 houses, and then we go deep sea fishing. And then we would go look at 2 or 3 houses out on the East Cape, and then go off-roading. And just
way to do it.
Do it like that. And then show them all the cool new restaurants that aren't the ones that everyone goes to, that are really incredible, that are not as well known. So stuff like that, just kind of helping people curate a unique experience out there outside of what they're used to.
Have you ever had a moment of nervousness? I know people are a little nervous about the crime down there, or
I feel safer in Mexico than I do in a lot of places here in the US. There's a lot of reasons for that, but I think what you see on the news, or that really unfortunate crazy freak accident that happened to those guys surfing, is very, very uncommon. That can happen to you anywhere. Anywhere in Denver, even in the suburbs, someone could get murdered by a crackhead. Those are just crackheads. Not the norm. I'm getting ready to drive the whole Baja November 1st for 2 weeks.
Can I come?
Sure.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Bring
I'm
your camper
always just
van.
trying to
Bring
insert
your camper
myself
van.
whenever I can.
Yeah.
So you started off as a little boy, selling honey that nobody bought,
Yep.
living in zoos with a dad that like goes around to coming
Travels
up with to a Honda Accord, not having a lot of money, seeing this DNC in the hotel eye view. You knew that there was an opportunity. Now you have this huge portfolio of luxury rentals.
Yeah.
You've also transitioned into real estate, residential real estate, luxury side, and now you're fucking
Been in that
running
for-
Baja.
Yeah. Yeah. I
What
didn't-
can we expect from you next? Do you have anything coming up? Do you what do
Yeah.
you not do? What's next?
I mean, I'm working with the owner, Ron Warner. I've known him my whole life. I'm working with him to remodel a stunning brownstone in Riverfront Park. That's also a really unique niche that I have for my clients, is helping them update and remodel condos. I've GC'd 3 light renovations at the Four Seasons. I've done a dozen other lofts and condos. and
Four
homes.
Seasons.
Yeah.
You rock it out there too.
Yeah, I mean, that was an incredible property. I was brought on during the original sales of that building, because when they did the price reduction from $1,000 a foot to $500 a foot, sales went crazy, and all these people were buying units over there with no intention of living in them. They just saw the opportunity. Maybe they were going to live in them in 5 years, or maybe it was just going to be an investment. So I did all the rentals in the Four Seasons, 99% of them, for a number of years. There's a couple of agents that represent them here and there, but I tend to represent most of the rentals in the building, and then I've obviously done sales as well there. And I'm actually putting on a corner unit on that building Tuesday
For
$3 million
leasing or to sell?
for sale. That one will
Okay.
be $3 million corner unit, just over 3,000 square feet.
It's such a cool property too. I mean, sorry, I don't mean to cut you
Yeah.
off, but when you took us up there, I think that one you took us to was a corner unit too. But
All
the
of them are,
I
except
guess,
one bedrooms. Yeah.
But the views that you see up there, it just is like, it's a really cool property.
It's stunning.
It's-
It's
Even
the
the lobby.
it's the safest building to park $1 million, $2 million, $3 million in all of Denver. It's the highest. It's the fastest appreciating condo building in Denver.
Why do you think that is? What was
Well,
about
one, when
it?
they lowered pricing from $1,000 to $500 a foot, you could get a unit at the Four Seasons for $15 more a foot than a condo at the Glass House.
What?
Now the HOA was twice as much,
Yeah.
which was hard, and the economy was terrible. So
Is parking included in the purchase price, or is that
everything's included at the Four Seasons. Your utilities, everything except cable, and yeah, it's an incredible building to live in. It's the highest level of service available of any building. It's hard to get people to move out of it.
Do they know to hit you up if they want to rent it out there, like at the Four Seasons? Do they know to go
Maybe
to
yes,
Matt
maybe
Conway?
no. Like, do people know that if they want to rent at the Four Seasons, call me? Maybe.
Yeah.
But I usually have something on either for sale or for rent there.
Yeah.
Publicly listed, but right now, I mean, I'll probably have contracts in on 2 office exclusives there by the end of next week. So right now, I have 3 units. 1 that will be public and 2 that will probably be office exclusives for sale. And then, but a lot of the rentals have been sold because they've doubled in value in the last decade.
of course.
And, so.
So, and you said there was a project where that you were doing something.
A brownstone
stone?
in Riverfront Park. So
Okay.
a traditional brownstone like in New York City, you walk up to it, not like a townhome, bigger. And there's only one modern town or brownstone development in all of downtown Denver, and those are the brownstones in Riverfront Park on 18th and Little Raven. So we're remodeling one to capture top dollar. Ron Warner, the owner of HW Home, is doing it. It's going to be absolutely fantastic, and he's going to fill it with all this absolutely stunning furniture from his beautiful, beautiful store, which, in case you don't know, is moved into the mall. Go check it out.
So he owns it.
Yeah,
Oh, I was
started
gonna say
it.
throw a
Cherry
party there.
Creek Mall, I
Throw a
would
party
assume?
there when you're done.
Cherry Creek Mall.
Yeah, I would
it's beautiful. I go
assume.
and check it out. And also, that's another thing. Like, if you're looking to buy furniture, don't go to Restoration Hardware or any of these other stores. Go to a local business that you can. If you're going to spend $10,000 on a couch, go make sure it's really nice.
Yeah.
Don't go waste your money for an RH tag on it.
What don't you do?
I
Do
do
you
it all.
not do
I
it?
mean,
You say you
yeah.
GC too?
I mean,
like, what the hell?
I mean,
man?
really, my goal is whether you're, looking when you're starting your journey in real estate. For almost all of us, that's renting. Whether you want a $2,000 a month apartment or a $20,000 a month apartment,
Yeah.
I can do that.
Right.
I've leased out the most expensive properties consistently in downtown Denver, unquestionably, which is great. It's fun. And then when you're ready to buy, I can help you do that. And then when you're ready to buy your second home, I can help you do that. When you're ready to convert your first property into a rental property, I can help you with that. And then when you're ready to maybe buy your first true investment property, I can help you with that. And then when you're ready to retire in Mexico, I can do that for you too.
Oh yeah.
And with
Let's
that,
go, Matt.
y'all, Matt
Mic drop.
Conway, how can people reach you?
You
Google.
can give me a call. You can Google me. I'm always at my office in Lohi, 32nd and Tejon. I work
is
at
it, 30?
MileHiModern Real Estate.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I've been there 2 years. I don't see myself going anywhere else. So I'll probably retire at MileHiModern. It's, you know, an incredible brokerage, an incredible team. The way they've navigated us through all of this madness with the lawsuit and commissions is absolutely incredible. I can't thank our team at MileHiModern enough, and really empowering us to communicate to our clients how, as complicated as all this sounds, it's not that complicated.
figure it out.
And yeah,
Change is
so I
always
can't
scary.
thank them enough. I love working there, and yeah, I love real
That's good to
estate.
hear.
So
I love it.
All right,
Well,
guys.
thank you.
Call
Matt
me.
Conway, thank you
Love
for being
him.
on today.
Love
Reach
him.
out if you need any of his millions of services. We out.
Thank you so much for listening. This is From the Ground Up. Make sure you hit like and subscribe, and check back next Monday for the next episode.